With more and more guards being snatched up every day, it's time to figure out who's going to lead Carolina's attack next year.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or watch of the day to kick your Wednesday off the right way. Special shout out to all you everydayers who are here with us, along with our Locked On Tar Heels Discord family and all the great Locked On Tar Heels insiders. More and more people hopping into that every single day. Coming up on the show today, want to talk guards basically in the transfer portal. Was planning to talk about Baylor transfer Rob Wright today. Sounds like that doesn't matter because he's going to be off to BYU. So we're going to just scratch him off the list and not worry about that. Quick water there. Trey Holloman, the Michigan State guard, is going to visit Carolina on Saturday per THI's David Sisk and per On3's Pete Nakos. So that's two sources there. So we will confirm that or trust their confirmation of, I guess I should say. We'll talk about him later in the week. We're going to catch up on Cannon Catchings as well tomorrow a little bit more. We've previously talked about him, but with him now planning to visit, we got to talk about that as well. What we are going to talk about today is some good news. Seth Trimble is back. That's great. And I want to talk about the two guards that seem to me to right now be at the top of Carolina's list. When there's smoke, there's fire. That's Xaivian Lee from Princeton and Kyan Evans from Colorado State. We've mentioned Xaivion Lee a little bit before. Coach Pat Kilby and I talked about him on Monday's show, but we haven't yet talked about Kyan Evans, and so we will do that. As we get into it, though, we got a shout out. I want to shout out the people that finished in the top 5 of the Locked On Tar Heels bracket challenge on from March Madness this year. And so in 5th place was Andrew Manning at 1520, Alan Huffman 4th at 1580, James Elhart 3rd at 1640, Marshall Louis at 1650 points, and number 1, Sean 4 coming in with 1700 points. Congrats to all you guys for demolishing me. I always say I'm bad at bracket. I was 51st out of our pool of 97. It just never goes well for me. Okay, so let's dive then right in to Xaivion Lee. He is a Princeton transfer. He's coming from the Ivy League. There has been contact with interest that has been reported by multiple sites. Lee is 6'4". Big fan of that. Coach has talked about needing to get size. That certainly does it at the point guard position. He is a rising senior, so just 1 year of eligibility. Numbers-wise, here's his stats from this past season. 16.9 points a game, 6.1 rebounds, 5.5 assists to 2.2 turnovers, and 1.2 steals. I like those numbers very much. 36.6% from 3 on 5.4 attempts a game, 78.9% from the free throw line on 3.8 attempts per game. So not like fire, like all 3 of Houston's guards shoot over 40% from 3. But that's a good number on a good volume and certainly moving in the right direction, because another thing Carolina wants to add is shooting, and that would do it. As for Lee, part of what I really like about him is the fact that he's not just a distributor. He is a high-level scorer. You can catch that from his points per game clearly and from some other things, but I'll just do it in several individual games. He has 4 career games of 30 or more points. He has 3 other games of 25 or more points and 12 other games of 20 or more points. You add that all together, for his career, he has 19 games where he scored 20 or more points. As a comparison to Elliot Cadeau, Elliot's career high was 19 points. Xaivion Lee has gone beyond that 19 times in his career. Now, 1 extra year, right? He's played 3 years to Elliot's 2, but still, the point remains. Now, we need to point out early in this conversation, Xaivion Lee is going through the draft process And that's certainly a factor, because then it gets into the chronology of this thing and the timeline and how do you line this up well? And that's another just the frustration of the transfer portal opening as early as it does, is it's like, man, people are snatching guards up and you want to make your decision, but there's the NBA draft of it all. And that's tough, man. That is a tough thing year after year after year. That didn't used to really be a thing pre-transfer portal, but now it is. So we'll have to wait and see on Xaivion Lee. That rhymed. Something I like about Lee, he's right-hand dominant, but if you watch his tape, you can see that he will finish with both hands willingly and capably, right? Some people, it's like, I'm right-handed, but I can kind of herky-jerkily put it up left-handed. I feel like he's got a smooth touch with both hands. But, I mean, you heard his averages in assists and rebounds as well, right? 5.5 assists a game last year, 6.1 boards a game last year. Well, you could imagine that means he's going to have some games close to double digits in both. Not a ton. 3 career games of double-digit assists, about the same with rebounds. I can't remember the specific number, but it's right around. Actually, I can tell you really quick. Why not? Career double-digit rebounding games for Lee, 5. Really good stuff there. And as I said, 3 double-digit assist games. But 2 of those things all overlapped. So Xaivion Lee has 2 career double-doubles. Both came this past season, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes. December 3rd, Princeton at St. Joe's, and then March 8th. So one of the final games of the season, Princeton hosting Penn. And so, actually, was that conference tournament? No, it was probably their last game of the regular season. So, I mean, that's crazy. North Carolina, again, 2 triple doubles in the entirety of Carolina history. Homie did it twice last year. Now, again, Ivy League. Sure, I hear that, but I don't know, doing that at any level is always wild to me. The other question you have to consider with somebody like this is the question of, he is an Ivy League player. Does it translate to the ACC level, which, if we're being honest, is probably 2 jumps, not just 1 jump. Like, it's not like Mountain West Conference like we're about to talk about. It truly is hard to know sometimes. He's not had much competition against high major schools. His freshman year was that year that Princeton won multiple games in the NCAA tournament, beating Arizona and Mizzou before losing to Creighton. But that was his freshman year, and he wasn't playing much, just 2, 3, and 3 minutes in those 3 games respectively. But since then, in his sophomore and junior year, they've only played 1 high major opponent both of those years, and both years it was Rutgers. Now, he did well against Rutgers his sophomore year, 16 points, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 assists, 1 turnover, a steal, and a rebound. Very solid. This past year against Rutgers, 21 points, 1 of 5 from 3, 11 assists, just and 4 turnovers, 3 steals, and 6 rebounds. So, to be fair, had a really, really strong game this year against Rutgers. And keep in mind, they had those 2 dynamic freshmen, right? And Ace Bailey and Dylan. Why his last name's completely escaping me right now. It's late and my mind is jumbled. So deal with that. But that's the only examples that we really have to compare it against. Where I have faith and trust in it is the fact that there are all manner of high majors seeking after this young man. Kentucky has been after him. I read on Tuesday that Duke got in after him now as well. And so there's that. There's the NBA draft side of it where, he's at least in consideration for that. Those types of things, plus the eyeball test, tell me that, yes, he will translate up. Now, do the stats stay exactly where they're at? I don't know, but even if 16.9 points goes down to 14, if 6.1 boards goes down to 4, 5.5 assists goes down to 4, 36.5% from 3 goes down to 35%, those kind of things. Even if you have that drop, those stats are still very well worth it, in my humble opinion. Plus the size, that ain't going to shrink, just because he comes up a level. And he doesn't seem like someone where the mental side of it would get to him. Like, he seems comfortable and ready to go. And so I think he's worth a very strong look. And for me, I guess maybe I should have said this off the top, but he's the guard I want most right now. The problem is If you're North Carolina, while there's all these other guards getting snatched up to all these teams, are you willing to wait and bet on the chance that he will commit to you? And if you wait, he might stay in the draft. If you wait, he might come back to college, but commit to another school. All of these are risks that you take. And so you either, those are the conversations I'm sure they're having behind the scenes. Do we wait on him? Do we move forward with somebody else? At what level of less than Xaivion Lee are we willing to take? Like, all of that's a factor in this. Now, as things stand today, all the reporting is that it's Carolina, it's now national champion Florida, and St. John's that are kind of in the lead on this thing right now. But as you know, with any recruitment, things can change and they will and do. But I would say for a guy coming from an Ivy League school, Florida is actually a solid academic university, despite their reputation as a party school, but not quite Carolina. And so Carolina is the most academically prestigious of those three schools. And so I would imagine that's a factor for a young man coming from Princeton. So again, the question is, if you're Jim Tanner and Hubert Davis and staff, you've got to be able to answer, do we truly think he can transfer up from Ivy to ACC? Because we got burned on that last year with Cade Tyson. And then secondly, are we willing to wait on him to figure out what he's going to do with the NBA draft? If the answer to either of those questions is no, or even, you probably got to move on. I would love to see it though, man. I think he could be very, very good. But if you're not willing to wait on him, then perhaps the answer becomes Colorado State Ram transfer Kyan Evans. And that's who we're going to talk about just a second. Right after I tell you about Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need and delivered fast from coast to coast. Do you need help with an order? No problem. Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you're always going to have the opportunity to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. Again, that's supplyhouse.com. The next guard I want to look at today is a new name for us here on the show that we have not, I don't believe we've yet mentioned, but we are today, and that is Kyan Evans. Kyan Evans, like the normal spelling. He is a rising junior. He's 6'2", 175. He was Colorado State's lead guard this past year. You might remember him from the tournament where he dropped 23 on Memphis in their first round, making 6 threes. Crazy, crazy stuff there. And that Colorado State team, you probably remember them. They were the victims of a buzzer beater in the second round, losing to Maryland. Neek Clifford is probably the name you know from that Colorado State team. He's going to be off to the NBA, but Kyan Evans is right there as well. Evans is actually, interestingly, from just up the road from me, up in Kansas City, Staley High School, just about 2 hours north of where I'm recording right now. Numbers from this past year: 10.6 assists, 2.9 boards, I said 10.6 assists. I meant 10.6 points, 2.9 rebounds, 3.1 assists to 1.9 turnovers, 0.8 steals, so just shy of 1 steal a game. Here's the big number that jumps out to me: 44.6% from 3 on 4.4 attempts a game. 70 of 157 was his total threes. And then at the free throw line, we lost RJ Davis, and Kyan Evans might be the guy to fill his shoes. 85.2% from the free throw line on 2.3 attempts a game. So the dude can fill it up from beyond the arc and at the free throw line, and is a lead guard who's going to do a little bit of everything. This season, he started all 36 of Colorado State's games as a sophomore. Get this. He led the entire Mountain West Conference in true shooting percentage, which just kind of takes account of twos, threes, and free throws. And, I know you might not know everything about the Mountain West, but they are like one of 2-3 conferences just right outside the Power 5 in basketball. As a reminder, in basketball, we add the Big East to the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. And the Mountain West exists just outside of that, but it's very high-level basketball, very great players. And so the fact that Kyan Evans led the conference in true shooting percentage is something. There is something very much to that. In terms of I don't know, that's a little worrisome to me. The biggest thing that jumps out is his turnovers, right? 3.1 assists to basically 2 turnovers a game. And the assist rate and turnover rate are almost identical. His assist rate is 20.4%. His turnover rate is 19.2%. So just a percentage point behind. As a reminder, yes, Elliott's turnover percentage is higher, around 25, but he's also at a 38% assist rate to make up for more of that. If Carolina is to fully go after Evans and land him as their lead guard, there's got to be bigger separation in that assist to turnover ratio. Even if the assists stay where they're at right now, but the turnovers just come way down, that's great. But I would rather see them both go in opposite directions. Assists go up and the turnovers go down. Did you ever sing that song about Noah and the Ark? The rains came down and the flood. Anyway, I'm a Bible dork. Forgive me. That's my church coming out here on a Tuesday evening. Now, you want shooting? I know Hubert Davis does. I think in this day and age, you cannot have enough shooting. And you need shooters with size, shooters that can get their shots off, that have quick twitch, that are unconscious, that don't care that they've missed 7 in a row. They're going to keep shooting. Well, Kyan Evans has it, man. I already mentioned the 44.6% from 3, the 85.2% from the free throw line. Let me tell you about what he did from beyond the arc in the postseason. So I'm combining the Mountain West Conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. This dude in those 5 games shot 16 of 26 from beyond the arc. That's 61.5%. That is silly. That's what we were talking about with Tyrese Proctor and his absurd NCAA tournament. That's what Kyan Evans did. In Colorado State's final 15 games of the season, so the final 10 regular season games and the 5 postseason games, let me make sure I'm not wrong about how many postseason games they played. Give me just a second. Let's look up his game log from this year. Yes, 5. So it's the 10 final regular season games and the 5 games of the postseason. He made multiple 3-pointers in 13 of those 15 games. It's really, really good stuff. In the ones that he didn't, the 2 that he didn't, he made a 3, but he just made 1 of them. I mean, so that means he made a 3 in at least 1 in each of their final 15 games this season. Absolutely, you'll take that and you'll say thank you very much. You often wonder with the point guard, all right, you're getting those 3s and you're knocking them down, my dude. But I already said I'd like to see his free throw rate go up a little bit. But I always wonder, how are your 2s when you're shooting that many 3s? Well, basically, he took 3 3s for every 2 2s. I can live with that. That's a good ratio. It's not. Remember, Cade Tyson came into the year having taken more 2s than 3s in his career. But I think this is a fine balance, especially for somebody that knocks down the 3s at the rate that he does. That's really impressive. Here's a struggle I do have, though, as I watch Kyan Evans. I don't want to be swayed by his NCAA tournament performance, right? The 23 points against Memphis, which is saying something. But that's just one of 2 career games where he's had 20 or more points. Remember, we talked about it with Lee. He's got 19 career games of 20 or more points. He had 6 threes in that game against Memphis, but literally the rest of his career never had more than 4. And so there's those kind of things. It's like everything seems legit. Everything checks out. He plays at a high level of basketball. It's not like some low major conference where he's got I don't know. No, he's done it at high levels. I just want to be careful not to be swayed by the NCAA tournament performance. One thing that's perhaps interesting is the fact that it's been reported, I saw this from a couple different sources and sites, that he doesn't necessarily feel like he's got to take a trip to make a commitment. Kind of similar to Jonathan Powell. Remember, he Zoomed with the staff, but never actually came to Chapel Hill yet. And so there's that. The other thing I would say is his head coach at Colorado State, Nico Medved, is headed off to Minnesota. And so the question is, will he want to follow him there? That's something to keep an eye on. It was reported at one point that he was going to take a trip to Minnesota after the dead period. So that would be Friday or beyond. So we'll keep our eyes on that. I think you kind of want to keep him away. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing there. One other thing I'll say about Kyan Evans is that if you're able to land somebody like him that is such a prolific three-point shooter, if you can have that at the 1, that makes me feel more capable to start Seth at the 2. So that's just something to keep in mind too with Kyan Evans. If he comes and brings all that three-point shooting, maybe that opens the door to say, like, all right, so it's not quite as important of Seth to shoot a high percentage from 3. Just something to keep in mind as a possibility. Speaking of Seth Trimble, he's back. That's right. Seth Trimble announces on Tuesday that he is returning to Carolina, or staying at Carolina, for his senior year. This is great news. We'll unpack it and talk about it in just a second. Seth Trimble is staying in school. He's not going to the transfer portal. He's not going to the draft. Seth Trimble will play his senior year at North Carolina. And several things about that. Number one, this is what college athletics is supposed to be. Stay, develop, grow. And I mean that as a player and as a human, right? Like Coach Smith talked about that all the time. That was one of his big goals. And I was just having a conversation with somebody on Tuesday. I remember who it was, but I should probably keep them anonymous. They just don't like to have their name out there. But we were just kind of lamenting the state of things right now, where even with your opponents leaving, right? Like the Duke rivalry is still the Duke rivalry, but I feel like it's not as strong because you don't have, 4 years of Grayson Allen or 4 years of whomever to learn to hate, you love to hate them or whatever it is. But even the guys you respect, like a Shane Battier or something, I don't know, it's like, man, they were just around and you got to know them and who they were. And it just made the rivalry matter more, where both teams had multi-year guys that you really came to know. It's different now. But that's what Seth Trimble's doing. And it's cool because Carolina has had this type of player now for 4 straight years, probably even before that, but just I have the COVID of it in my mind. So 4 teams ago was Leaky Black's 5th year. He used his COVID eligibility. Then Armando Bacot used his COVID eligibility for a 5th year. This past season, RJ Davis used his 5th year of COVID eligibility. COVID eligibility, by the way, is gone now because that RJ's class was the last one that had that. And now Seth sticks around for his last year. I think is great, man. It's so good. I'm so happy for him to make this decision. I'm so happy for Carolina because I think it's a big win in terms of I've been talking about the leadership that was missing last year. I think Seth could bring that, man. I think he could be the one. I would love to see more of that vocally from him. But man, there's talent and all of that kind of stuff that he can bring as well. So this really is big time for Carolina, period. Stop. It's big time for Carolina, but particularly big time the day after it was announced that Ian Jackson was entering the transfer portal, because that then means that your backcourt hangs in the precipice of being completely decimated because RJ Davis is out of eligibility. Elliot Cadeau transferred to Michigan. Ian Jackson now out the door as well. And it's like, if Seth turns pro or goes somewhere else, that's your entire backcourt you got to replace. That sounds awful and miserable. So now you've got a foundation, a bedrock, a cornerstone to start on with Seth Trimble, and you bring these other guys in like what we're talking about. I think Jonathan Powell might play the twosome coming in from West Virginia, but it's like you need more of these guys to fill out those backcourt positions. And so I think that's important. So it's important the day after Ian Jackson portals, you retain one of your backcourt guys. And also, it's not just any guy. This is a guy who played the third most total minutes last year and a guy who averaged the second most minutes per player last year per game. Like, those things matter and they add up. And those are the teams you see winning championships, not Duke, not other freshman-led teams. It's senior experienced teams like Houston and Florida. That's who was standing on championship Monday night. Let's get to some of Seth's numbers. Just kind of look inside it a little bit. You know the storyline so much of the season about Seth leading the team in rebounding. Van Allen Lubin actually bested him to lead. Van Allen was 5.5 boards a game, and Elliott, good grief, Elliott. No, Seth had 5 rebounds a game, so just behind him. But Seth was legitimately second to Van Allen Lubin in both rebounds per game and total rebounds. Like, that's crazy. Please do not let that be the case again this year. We want Seth to be up there. We need Seth rebounding because of his athleticism and everything he does, but he should not be that high. Should not be that high, plain and simple. Seth's numbers last year, 11.6 points. That was third on the team. 5 boards. Again, that was second on the team. 1.3 assists. That's third on the team. 1.4 steals. That led the team. 28.6% from 3. Like, we got to call out that hole in the game. That was the lowest of any Tar Heel that made a 3 last year or attempted a 3. But on the flip side, Seth Trimble, 82.1% from the free throw line last year. That was second and only second because RJ's absurd. As a reminder, in Seth's first year in Chapel Hill, he shot 54.8% from the free throw line. Last year, his sophomore year, 66.7%. All the way up to 82.1. That is a come up. And when you combine that with the 3-point numbers, right? You look at the 3-point numbers and say 26.6%. That's bad. That's barely making more than 1 out of every 4. Got to be better than that. But here's the thing. It is worth noting that if you go back to the moment Seth got injured this year and missed, 4 games? 3 games? 3 games. In the games before he got injured, Seth, on the season, was shooting 38.5% from beyond the arc. Now, it wasn't a crazy high volume at that point, or crazy high sample size, but it was 12 games. That's enough. But then it was just like it was gone, more or less, when Seth came back. And then wound up shooting 26.6% from beyond the arc. That's not good enough. And Seth knows that, man. He knows that more than you and I do. And so he's in the lab right now. I can almost guarantee it, working on his shot day after day after day to get whatever that was back. And by the way, that 38.5% in the first 12 games was coming off a season, his sophomore year, where he shot season-long 41.9%. So it's in there with him, but it's got to be something he continues to progress in. That's the Seth Trimble of it, man. I'm so excited that he's back. I just think it adds so much to this team. This is great news for the Tar Heels. It's great news for college basketball. We should be celebrating seniors who have spent their entire career at one school. Not that the others are doing it wrong, but man, this is a special and unique thing in this day and age. So I really appreciate that. So, next, in terms of announcements, we watch for Van Allen Lubin. We watch for Drake Powell. What's going to happen there? Drake was in Seth's comments on his announcement that he was staying. Seth was writing back saying, hey, I need you to stay another year, all that. So I don't know. Is that something? It's probably nothing, but I was paying attention to it. So, guys, great to be able today to talk about Xaivian Lee, to talk about Kyan Evans, and to talk about Seth Trimble staying in school. That's great news for Carolina as they continue to build this roster. If you've not subscribed to the show on YouTube, do that right now for those of you watching. If you've not subscribed on audio, do that right now for those of you listening. And by the way, if you're a regular listener, come over and subscribe to the show on YouTube. That helps expand the reach so much. Thank you for doing that. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you there. We are careening close to 500 members in the Discord. And then if you want to join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders, a more intimate thing where you get to have texting one-on-one with me, I drop all of my portal rumors in there to our insiders. I drop, you have free access to all of my stats, my charts, my data, my record books. It's all in there for you. only as the insiders to see. So we'd love to have you as part of that. The links for that are in the show notes. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.